TRW back here with Avec Infini Regret, Volume 2, early in the Battle of Ivry, 1590, right in the middle of the reactivation of the League Army right wing here. This cavalry unit just moved across here to move adjacent to the enemy, the Royal unit here, the cavalry unit there, mounted arquebusiers. They are the E marker on there with the modifiers listed. That's showing that this Royal unit is shaken. Because the active unit moved into the inactive unit's fire zone, the Royal unit there gets defensive fire. So fire, in general, fire. Let's talk a little bit more about fire. So let's use this unit here as an example. This unit, always with the colored background, is one of the most important values of all units in the game. That's its morale. Above it, slightly smaller, also on a colored background, although the colored background does not mean anything. I don't believe the color of background. So 6 here, the smaller 6 above the morale, 6 in this case, is the fire value. So this unit has a 6 fire value. You want yeah, I can't remember. All right, so that's the fire value. Fire is a part of movement in this game. I think it always costs 2 movement points, but that doesn't mean that if you have a movement allowance of 6, you can fire 3 times. I'm not sure. I know you can fire then move or move then fire. I'm not sure I figured out yet for sure whether you can move with part of your movement allowance, pay 2 movement points to fire, and then move again if you have remaining movement points unused. I guess that's something I'll look for, although I might have to chalk that up to if it's not specified, it's not allowed, I guess. Okay, fire for artillery. You have these markers. You have defensive fire, on the backside offensive fire. You need these to mark when your artillery units have conducted those kinds of fire during the turn. There's pretty much, I don't remember any, I'll just say I don't remember any limitations on offensive fire. Well, I guess except for one, which should be obvious. When a unit, well, on the back side of this shaken marker is the broken side. Yeah, fire 0, okay. And that's the reminder there, no fire. So I guess that's the only limitation of fire. I think otherwise a unit is always eligible to conduct offensive fire. Firing, I don't think orders have any influence on firing. I think firing is completely separate from orders, the wing orders. And that's, let's see, I'm trying to think. No, okay, I guess that's pretty standard actually. So you do have defensive and offensive fire in this game, very important. I think the general rule is a unit can conduct offensive fire once per wing activation. Which, because it's offensive fire, that would be its own wing activation. But a unit can conduct defensive fire as many times as there is a legitimate trigger. When units are stacked, so when units are stacked, each unit can fire normally and keeps its own facing. It's probably important to remember that, if I remember correctly, although I haven't done it much, but if a unit is retreating, I believe it can come under defensive fire, but I will be looking for opportunities to show that. Yeah, defensive fire is always free as long as there's a legitimate trigger. There's line of sight, which effectively is really just for the artillery. Firing is not simultaneous, and results are applied immediately, or I should say as you go. Oh, maybe I answered my own question here. So offensive fire, again, fire cost 2 MP. I didn't remember there being this last clause here. So a unit can advance then fire, or fire then advance. I knew that, but then it says comma or any combination of the two, as long as it has necessary MP. So a combination of the two tells me that as long as it has movement points, it can move, fire, and then move again. Wow, that is something to remember. That is definitely something to remember, because that could be a legitimate tactic, I guess. So here they give an example: a unit with a march order or even rally order that is already in contact with the enemy. Oh, okay, never mind. They're already in contact with the enemy, so that doesn't help here. That's a normal example. That's a fire then move example. We already knew that. So defensive fire. This is also important. It's important to the game. It's important for me to remember. I don't think I'm thinking enough about this, but a lot of things trigger defensive fire. For example, and some of them I would not normally think. So changing facing in a fire zone triggers defensive fire. Oh yeah, here we go. All sorts of, advancing after melee provokes fire, defensive fire. Retreating units provoke fire, and it even says or becomes broken. So I do not remember that one. So are they saying that if this unit goes broken as a result of some type of combat, that even that alone triggers defensive fire? Wow. I do not remember that. Maybe I just forgot, but I don't remember that. So changing facing isn't that unusual, but attempting to rally. At this scale and scope, it's interesting that a unit that attempts to rally and it's in an enemy fire zone provokes defensive fire. So I consider those to be a lot of different kinds of defensive fire to remember. So let's see if their example helps. An infantry unit in the fire zone of an enemy unit is activated. It changes facing in order to have this unit in its fire zone by spending 2 MP and provokes a defensive fire on itself from that enemy unit. Okay. So that's the changing facing within an enemy fire zone. It can then fire offensively by spending 2 MP, which provokes a new defensive fire from the enemy unit. Yep. Okay, that is clear. Artillery does not use MP to fire. Each turn, artillery can fire once in offensive fire during its activation and once in defensive fire. So that's where you place the marker that we talked about. That's when you place the the artillery defensive fire or offensive fire marker to remember that. Oh, and the unit is turned to its fired side after its second and final fire. And it does not need to be in command. So I think what they're saying is you have an artillery unit here, like that. It fires, let's say, during its activation. Let's see. Yeah, so during its activation, it fires offensively. And then I think later when it fires once defensively, then I think this is removed and it's flipped over to its fired side like that. Or again, it might fire defensively first, then later during its activation it fires offensively, and when it's done firing offensively, then it's the same deal. Okay. Zones in range of fire. Those are real simple. Basically adjacent for all units, up to 10 hexes for artillery fire resolution. You're rolling and modifying your die roll against the unit's fire value. If you get equal to or greater than, if you get equal to or greater than the printed fire value on the unit, the target must make a morale test and use the difference between the modified final die roll and the printed fire value as a modifier, as a negative modifier, it's a positive modifier, but that's not good. All right, so let's do this fire then. This is just to remind me where we were. So this unit moved up. So and they were not broken, they were shaken. So the shaken unit is going to conduct defensive fire. What's important here is that you got fire +2, which is a bad thing. All right, so roll the d10 for the fire. 8 is very good. Oh, +2 is to the fire value, not a die roll modifier. Okay, so that is bad. Yeah, okay. This is +2 to the unit's fire value, which again always applies to the front side. That annoys me. So it's 7 +2 is 9. Okay, that's why it's okay. Now we go through modifiers. This is defensive fire, and it's defensive fire on cavalry, so it's -1. There, -1. Artillery fire and cavalry spending of additional movement points doesn't apply here. Firing a flank or rear does not apply. See if I missed any here. Nope. Actually, that's it. So 8 -1 is 7. That is not greater than or equal to its modified fire value of 9. So the fire actually could he... Wait a minute. Okay, that's all correct, but he might not have a fire value. Where did I see that? Darn, where did I see that? I saw that somewhere. Where did I see that? That's important. Fire is rule section 10. Where did I see that? Where did I see that? All right, I am. Where did? Oh, okay. There it is. There it is. So, a unit that has a fire value, okay, greater than 9. Okay, never mind. So his modified fire value is 9, But subtracting 1 for defensive fire on cavalry means that he effectively cannot hit. Okay, well, I showed it anyways. But that makes sense because they are shaken. They're shaken and they're trying to do defensive fire against a cavalry. Okay. So now we're going to continue on with the movement. You know, the wing still has a charge command, so basically they still have to end at least 1 hex closer to the nearest enemy, which is this. Oh, I guess it's either of these actually. Okay, rest of the line moved up, but I wanted to show this because a lot of fires happen back and forth here. So even though this unit's sitting here already adjacent to the enemy, he goes ahead and fires, and he can use 2 movement points to I need to notice that he's at half movement. That's significant. The half movement point allowance is significant because you do pay movement points to fire, so that is significant. So anyways, he fires at him. He didn't get a result. Both of these royal units fire back in defensive fire. Again, they didn't. It was just really bad rolling. They didn't get anything. Now this unit finally rolls really good. 8 against Ciberon in the flank here. It's 8 plus 1 for flank fire. Wait, is that? Wait, there's something else. Oh, right, the movement point. It also spends 2 movement points to get +2. So it is +3, 11. You're right, 11. That's what it is. Modified 11. Subtract the fire value of 6 from the unit for 5. 5 is the die roll modifier that the target is going to have on its morale check, which means that he's going to have to roll quite low. All right, so let's just. He does not do it, so he rolls fairly average 6. He has to add 5. Yeah, for the fire die roll modifier. And he's also, there's another one, he's subtracting Ciberon's 1, but he does not get equal to or less than his morale, so he actually takes a hit. So taking a hit in this case is going to be flipping over to disorganized, and now he gets to fire back in defensive fire. It's in a flank hex, but fire zone. So again, roll for their fire. Ooh, very average 5. They're probably not going to. No, they're not going to get it. So it's 5. Is there any? I don't think there's any. Oh, defensive fire on cavalry actually does apply. It's -1. Yeah, I guess it's not even close. Need to get equal to or greater than the fire value of 9. So again, I'm doing that. He can't get anything if it's 9 with -1 for defensive fire and cavalry. So he couldn't have gotten anything anyways. All right, so that's now we'll go to melees.